Hello and welcome everyone to Conversation Amongst Friends, Life, Health, Universe and Everything. I'm Ceza Ouzounian and I'm a fitness and energy coach. And my mission is to change the lives of millions of women so that they can create the life they desire. And with me, I have Hazel Addley. Woo!
Hey, I'm Hazel. I am a life and energy coach, and I support women to up-level in their business so that they can create a life that they really, really love living with freedom and joy and fulfilling whatever mission they're here to fill.
Yay!
So we change it every time.
Pardon?
We change it every time.
So we both mentioned about people creating change and living the life they want, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is creating change. And this has come up quite a lot, I think, for both of us, about creating change and creating the life that we want. And it's come up a lot in the books that I'm reading and the things I've seen on Facebook, like marketing videos and people that I follow. So I thought it'd be a really interesting topic about how do we create change in our lives? So how do we live the life that we want? So we have some ideas and we can talk about like what has worked for us. At the moment I am journaling and visualizing and really getting in tune with what my goals are so that I can focus my energy and have clarity and focus.
Wow. That sounds fantastic.
It sounds good, but sometimes it's harder than you think. It's really hard to like visualize and connect to the feeling and really connect to that, what it is I want.
I totally hear you, because I think it was a couple of months ago, because just for listeners' sake, what we're doing with this podcast is we're friends, sharing our conversations with you guys, basically. So we talk about this stuff normally, but we thought we'd record it and just share the sort of topics that we enjoy talking about and nerding out on. So I don't know if I told you a few months ago, or maybe I just did a live about it in my group, that I made a kind of turned a corner into, perhaps I shouldn't mentally create my goals. Perhaps I should feel my goals. And it was a real kind of switch of, feel my goals, like create my goals from a place of feeling, because I've been very blocked on my feelings for years, and it's sort of undoing now. And it's like, well, what do I feel like creating? What do I feel like moving forwards towards? And it was a real kind of challenge to get my head around the idea of letting go of and mentally creating the goals. I think at the moment they're doing a bit of a game of tag, going, no, it's you. It's like, there you go. You're out. Now it's my turn.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, because I've been feeling into the goals a bit more, but sometimes it's just the brain kicks in and you don't feel it. So how can we get into that feeling more? How do you do it?
I have started doing a much more rich morning routine. So I've always done some sort of self-development morning routines, but for me, I've sort of found a spot in my new house in the conservatory under a lovely tree, where I just go and relax for like half an hour in the morning, and I talk to myself on video. So I don't do journaling. I used to do morning pages, which is a version. Sorry if you can hear noise. There's like culinary stuff going on in the background, so it sounds like a pneumatic drill over here. Okay, cool. So I do a video journal to myself, and when I started doing that, it was really kind of going, okay, what is it I'm desiring? What is it I'm wanting? What is it I'm wishing for? And just having that conversation with myself. You can do it as written as well. So that's where it started, because when I sort of attempted to start disengaging the brain and going, no, what do I feel like? It was kind of took a little while for that to start opening up and getting glimpses. So it was really small. So I would just hook on to what would it feel like to live in a house that really nurtured me, or what would it feel like to work with the sort of people I would really love to work with. And So it's not even pinning down who they are, it's what would I feel like in that situation, and letting the visualization of it or the idea of it grow from how I want to feel. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just edging in that way and then seeing how it unfolds naturally.
Yeah, and I think that's quite good to like ask yourself, how would I feel in that situation? Like, how would I feel in that house or doing that job or whatever? Like asking yourself that, because sometimes, like, so I do the written journaling, which is similar to the video thing. It's just one's writing, one's talking. And sometimes it's easy to forget that, oh, well, how will I feel when that happens? It's rather than, oh, this is what I want. Okay, universe provide it. But actually tuning into that feeling is a totally different thing. And
yeah.
Those questions. How would I feel?
Another thing that's kind of came out for me with the recent training that I'm doing is around asking what it is that you desire. And I do some morning journaling, asking for what I want that day. But sometimes those things are things that are bigger than that day. And the point we start with that is, what am I worrying about? So what's on my mind? What is that worry? So I'm worrying, I don't know, for example, about what could I offer my clients that they're really going to want to buy into, or worrying about what we're going to talk about on the podcast today. I don't know. Like it could be anything that you're kind of thinking, or I don't know where that next bit of money is going to come from. But you transmute that into what you would like. So it's taking a feeling and making that into, I would really love it if I was provided with the insight and the clarity of what to talk about or what to create with clients. So again, it's coming at your goals from a more daily, smaller level, but it helps to know what your bigger picture might feel like. So it's two different ways of approaching it.
Actually, and that's quite a nice way of doing it, because sometimes when you have that big end goal, or like you have just a big goal, it can feel really like overwhelming of how the hell do I get there? But taking these small little steps and going, okay, what is my goal for today? You're doing little steps, but it's taking you closer to that big step, and it's so much easier to just do it and get on with it.
Yeah, I always say to my clients that it's about baby steps, because as a life coach, it's very masculine. Like, where do you want to be? Why do you want it? Why is it important to you? And what are the steps to get there? And then you break the closest step to the tiniest step, and then what actions can you take? It's kind of that sort of thing, and it's very boom, boom, boom. And your why is your really important thing, your motivation, your reason for doing it, because that's, if you haven't got a strong why, you won't do it, because you're just it just doesn't mean enough to you to go through the discomfort and the effort required. And I'm really turned off by that approach now. It's a very good approach, it works, but it's very masculine. I don't know if it works better for men than women. I just know for me, I'd rather approach creating change in a more floaty, organic way, I guess, a much more feelings-based, evolving way. So yeah, I'd love the dream house. I'd love to travel the world. I'd love to see Pearl Jam on every continent they play on. And I do have these big things that I would love, but I haven't gone, okay, I want to have my dream house and it's going to cost this much and it's going to be in that area. I'm going to have it by then.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't like pinned it down like traditional coaches might, because the house is not important. What's important is the feeling you get from having that. And it might be that what you actually will get you there is something very different to what you've mentally pictured it as. So for me, forcing a visualization and forcing a very smart, that's the kind of coach thing, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time framed. So it's been a while since I've said them. I can't even remember properly. I used to do public speaking on this as well. Anyway, I just am taking a much sort of gentler approach with it, because I just found those ways left me stressed. Thinking I've got to get this house, I've got to get this money, I've got to create this thing, and it stopped life now being as rich, and the journey didn't feel as as enjoyable. So I definitely, for me, have found an approach that is softer but oh so much more fun.
Yeah. I think also it helps keep you motivated, because like let's say you want to lose weight and you're like, okay, this is what I want, this is my end weight, for instance, this is how much I need to lose, I need to eat this and I need to do this exercise, and that's it, you can get there. But unless you've got that drive or that, and I really think that tuning into that feeling of what it will feel like when you get there, that it's so easy to get off track. You're like, oh well, today I'll have this snack, or today I'll have some McDonald's, or I won't exercise today, or whatever. And it's so easy to fall off the wagon because there's so many obstacles that are going to come up, because that's life and they do. And if you can't really, and I think when you really tune into that feeling, it's so much easier to stay motivated, because you know how awesome you're going to feel. And you're right, I don't know if it's different for women and men, because I think from what I understand, women are a lot more feeling and emotional.
As a stereotype, yeah.
But I know lots of guys who are really emotional, like more than I am. But like, so I wonder if we tune in better to that when we visualize that, so what our why, and we tune into that feeling, if that works better for us than for men. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we
men out there who are listening, let us know.
Because I had a conversation with someone the other day. We were sort of both chatting about our businesses, and he was saying like he'd had a day the day before where he just got up and was so in flow with this creative burst in his business that he just worked, focus, do, and he was doing up until midnight, got up early the next morning, do, focus, and it was all to get him to his bigger goals that he was super clear on. He even asked me like, where do you want to be in 6 months' time? And I'm like, like enjoying my life, I'm healthy. It's been a long time since someone's asked me that, and I was totally unprepared, but he was just a go, and he was achieving. And my approach is much more organic and intuition based, and as many kind of relaxing parts as there is building parts. And it's a very different vibe. So it just struck me that perhaps there is something in this thing of a more masculine approach and a more feminine approach, but as men and women, we both have masculine and feminine within us. So you'll always be a combination. But it was like, as a stereotype, his work day had been so different to mine. Mine involved lying in the sun in the garden. His was like work. And maybe we have very different results as a result of that. But I had a lot of fun, and he had a lot of fun in our respective ways of working.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How that can. Well, I guess what matters is how you want your work day or your day, your day in general to look like. And everyone has different priorities, and how you approach your actions will be affected by that.
Well, I think we've both had these conversations before about, and we've both had periods, haven't we, where we've just worked and done and got up first thing in the morning, worked all the way through the day, every spare minute do more actions, and we're still 11 o'clock at night messaging going, yeah, still working on my blog, still working on this, still working on that. And I don't know about you, but for me, I'm not made in a way that can sustain that. I always find that I eventually burn out, and when I do that, I can't sustain anything. And I know now to see the signs. So for me, it's about creating so we've gone from change to business development, but it's still the same thing. It's creating the things that are going to be part of your change making in your life. And it's about being kind of more clever with what you do, more selective. So it's less is more, I guess, for me, because there's a million things you could do. And that's the same with any goal. If you have a goal that you're working on, you could work on it from sunrise to sundown, and it might not get you any further forwards than if you just did one thing a day.
Yeah.
Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but To
be honest, when I'm like in flow and I'm feeling good and I know what I'm doing, I can bust out my work. So for example, I work better in the evenings. Generally, I don't work in the evenings because like my boyfriend's home and we want to spend time together. But if I spend like a couple of hours or even an hour working at night, I can bust out a whole bunch of stuff. I probably would have taken me 8 hours during the day. And I'm just so focused. It just happens like boom, 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 boom. It comes out. So part of me is like, well, why waste 8 hours trying to do this chunk of work when actually I can do it in an hour? Like, who decided that we need to be working all the time to be successful?
Exactly.
Change the subject here, but like,
I get the same thing in the mornings.
yeah.
If I work in the mornings, I can tackle things that I struggle with at the rest of the day. I do a better quality of work. I'm faster. And it's frustrating because in the afternoons, I'm like a bit more of a zombie.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to just lie back and just my brain, I don't want to be sat at the computer. I just don't want it. Which is tricky because I'm better at everything in the mornings, including the personal development and everything. And I can't fit everything into my mornings. But what I've done as part of my lifestyle is that I block out my mornings. So it's incredibly rare that I'll agree to anything meetings-wise, connection-wise in the morning, because that is my magic time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've made it really different now. So I don't have breakfast till about midday.
Mm-hmm.
And so my whole morning is free to just be and do. And then I still work for a couple of hours after breakfast and then stop around 2ish, normally, if I feel that way, and then do something for me. So it's sort of morphed into something else at the moment, but it's still like it's much better quality and it feels so good.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's part of like creating change, creating a work schedule that works for you, so that you're working when you're in your optimal, I don't know what the word is, in your best optimal space, like, so that the work you're getting done is like focused and it's good quality and you get it done without it taking over your life.
Yeah, and there's that other theory, that other teaching about how if you're setting up a business, for example, it takes more energy to get it off the ground. Admittedly, it does.
Yeah.
But ideally, if you have a set number of hours that you want to work a week or a set shape of hours, you want to be creating that as you're setting up your business. Mm-hmm. Because if you're working 40 hours a week and you only want to work 20, you're less likely, from a law of attraction, energetic perspective, you're less likely to get the results you desire, because a part of you will go, I don't want this business to work if it means I'm going to have to keep working 40 hours a week to do it.
Yeah.
Because at some point you're going to have to create a transition, and what we do is we flump out, we kind of fill out our time if we make that time available with chores. So it's about going, okay, if I only want to work 20 hours a week, which 20 hours, what am I going to focus on most and use it more productively, so that you're creating what you want rather than creating what you don't want to then get to what you want, which is silly.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, like, we can get so much done in a short amount of time. Like, I use an app, I think it's called Good Time or something, mm-hmm. where it's got 25-minute slots. So you put the timer on, you've got 25 minutes. And usually I have like a list of, okay, what do I need to do today? And when I've got that timer on, I get through so much quicker than if I don't have it on, which is silly. Like, how does that work? But it does, which means you can then create, like, I can create the lifestyle I want according to the time schedule and boundaries. And like, it's so easily done if we are focused and ready for it to happen.
Yeah, it's having a method of working for you, I think. So I'm the same. I know exactly what my top priorities are to do. Mm-hmm. And I know which order ideally I would want them done in, and I use a timer. What makes mine a little bit more squiffy now is that I'm operating on intuition. So if intuition goes, no, go and do that thing, I will drop everything and go and do that thing, no matter how random it is. Yeah. So that's part of my intuition experiment. So I'm trusting a different method now.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about change. Like, why would people want to create change? Like, just thinking about the broader context.
Well, I guess it's creating change so that you're living the life that you want. That's how I'm seeing it, because I know so many people who hate their job, or they're not that really they don't enjoy it, and they pretty much live for their weekends, their time off, or they maybe they want to do things like hobbies, or I don't know, they want to go traveling, they want to do something for themselves, but they feel stuck, or they feel like there's something there that's preventing them from doing it. Or just changing the way they live their lives.
So it doesn't have to be extreme change, does it?
No, it could be small change.
Because a lot of people in my working world are thinking there has to be more to life than this. Like for some people, they've got to a point where they've set different things up, and it's just like, ugh. Like, okay, I'm bored with my partner. Going to do the same work that's like what I thought I wanted, but it's actually really like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like just that kind of like roundabout, going round and round and round. It's like, is this it? Do I do this until I die?
Exactly. What a depressing thought. God, I'm so depressed hearing that.
It's so depressing. And like we both know that there is so much you can do to change your world without even changing any of the external things.
Yeah.
Which is probably a whole nother topic, but let alone, like, so you don't have to end your relationship in order to have a better relation, like to create a better relationship. You don't have to change your partner to have a better relationship or more fulfilling relationship. You don't have to move your house. You don't have to change your car or your job. Like, there's so much you can do just to up your quality of life and your experience of life and your enjoyment of life.
Exactly.
And then when you do those things, you start from you first and go out from you, those other things start to tweak and change naturally. It's like some sort of magic happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, so I have a friend who's like quite miserable at the moment with her whole lifestyle, but the one thing that's constant in everything that's happened is her and how she feels about herself. And she's not happy internally, so nothing externally is going to make her happy. And it can be hard to change how you feel inside, but it's like we were saying earlier, small steps, making a decision to do something different, or to feel something different, or to change a thought, like,
yeah,
little tweaks.
Totally agree. You know, I did created a whole program on this year, around the developing your relationship with yourself. Yeah. And I'm still learning that myself as well. Like I've had a whole like massive like up level as far as my relationship with me this last week, and it's become richer and deeper and so much better. I feel like tingly thinking about it. Like I'm actually excited more about my relationship with me, about me, and knowing this, and I've been on this journey for years. Like there's just so much we can do within ourselves, even without any external particular tools like we have. There's so much you can do just to start recognizing that you are at the center. You're not on the periphery of your life, and that your joy and your fulfillment doesn't come from external things. It comes from within you. Yeah. Which might sound like a load of hippie bullshit. In some respects, if you've not come across this stuff before, but in my experience, it's the foundation block for everything you want to build and change and have in your life. Because if you don't have that, you won't have the self-worth to make anything of value happen for you.
Exactly. And like external things can make you happy, but they're only going to make you happy for small bits of time, and the moment they're gone, then what, you're unhappy. That's not a nice way to live.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely not. It's like, in my mind, like if you want to create change in your life, the first point is always go to yourself.
Yeah.
Because everything you've created in your life is a reflection of your inner life. It's a reflection of how you're showing up. It's a reflection of your vibration you give out. It's it's just a reflection. And I know that some people might be, but this awful things happened and that awful things happened. And yeah, it's really hard to swallow that all those things are things you've called into your life or created in your life in some way. And it really sucks. Sometimes it really, really sucks. But knowing that it comes from you, not to say consciously, but it comes from you, means that you have the power to change it. You have the power to learn from it and grow from it, because most things happen for a reason, to teach you something and help you evolve. So when you come from that you place and really step into that responsibility piece of, okay, if I create my reality and I've created, inadvertently, vibrationally attracted and created everything around me, then how do I have the power to create something better? How can I harness this power? Because we all have this power. Yeah, it's ours for the taking. It's just getting on that bandwagon and learning how to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's quite exciting when you think about it. Like the possibilities that are available to us if we just get out our own way and not let our crap hold us back.
Yeah, and a lot of people might not understand what this means, I'd imagine, if they're not in the kind of self-development world, and how it relates to change. Because you imagine change is like bringing in this external thing, getting that new car, upgrading your house, going on that holiday, or changing partner, or changing weight. But it's when you do the inner work, it's like it compounds what you can change in your life tenfold, thousandfold, millionfold, and in a heartbeat, because it condenses time in a weird way. And so much more is possible in really weird, wacky, magical ways than even you can imagine right now.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, I'm on that journey, and Ceza, I know you're in your own way, you're on that journey, and it's not just limiting yourself to just what your brain can imagine for you. It's when you get tuned into that feeling of your values. So when you're creating change, this is a really important point, actually, that when you're creating change, you want it to be in alignment with your core values. So your core values are the part of you that they rarely change, the core ones, over your whole life, unless you have like gigantic shock or trauma that it rarely change. So there'll be like 3, 4, 5 things that will describe you to a degree and what's important to you. So for me, it's enjoyment, connection, integrity, and freedom. And everything I want to create in my life wants to be in complete alignment with those values. If it's not in alignment with them, it goes out. It's not going to stay on the goal pile, the desire pile, because why would I want something in my life that's not in alignment with my values? It wouldn't feel good for me, and it wouldn't be sustainable, and it wouldn't add to my life. So ideally, when you start with you and then you build consciously, you're in line with your values, you're building a much firmer foundation, and you're going to love what you create rather than the shoulds like what the Joneses have. It's much more about you and strengthening you.
Yeah.
So I'm going off on one there.
No, that's a good point to make, actually, because if it's not in alignment with your core values, then either your motivation can drop or you don't feel good about what you're doing, because you know deep down that it doesn't feel right and you're going against what feels right. So yeah, that's actually a really important point. Yeah.
And when you do things in alignment with your values, it ties in with your sense of worth.
Yeah.
And that's another fundamental piece, is that you'll only attract what you in alignment with how much your self-worth is. So if you're not attracting much, it's your self-esteem, your self-worth, self-respect, all of that is pieces to look at, because otherwise you'll sabotage. You just won't allow it. You'll just say, oh, I can't afford to do these things, and you'll stop yourself. God, this stuff is so yummy. I love this stuff. I've been getting deep diving into it with my personal evolution lately, and it feels so good when you really kind of master swimming in that pool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I go off on one quite a lot, don't I?
I was just thinking I don't really have anything to add to that. That sounds good.
It is what it is. The thing is that, is there anything else about change that I took some notes, but then haven't looked at them. So I had another theory about change, and this is one that I don't know how truthful it is. It's just a theory I had a couple of years ago that change is going to happen. The universe is ever expanding. The universe is ever evolving. As humans, we are ever expanding and ever evolving, but sometimes we don't allow ourselves to expand and evolve. So we create like a safety bubble or a comfort zone around ourselves, and that's as far as we'll allow ourselves to grow, because beyond that feels uncomfortable or scary and unsafe. A theory that I was working on a few years back was, if you don't create the change that the universe is nudging you to create, like those little nudges that you kind of go, oh, I don't want to hear you, eventually the universe will go, you're not fucking listening, and it pulls the rug out from under you, and it turns your life upside down in a big kind of hit of catastrophe, and you're then on your ass with your life in pieces. I'm being a bit dramatic here, but the universe just pulls the rug out and goes, you're not fucking listening. If you won't listen, I'm going to make you change. I'm going to force you into change. And so my theory for dealing with that is listen, for one thing, but to actually start creating, instead of being reactive, start being proactive, which probably brings us back to the beginning topic, that start to kind of get a sense of what you would like more of in your life and make small, proactive, consistent changes in that direction. Yeah. So that could be something like just tidying up a cluttered space in your home, a cupboard. That could be just noticing, like, I don't know, for me, every Thursday I'd get really stressed because I'd finish work and then go to Tai Chi, and there wouldn't be enough time to eat, and then let my food go down, and I'd get quite stressed. And so I just made some subtle changes in my timing, and I changed what I ate so that it was quick to cook to give me more time, and then made that a routine. And so subtle changes, so my theory is to make subtle proactive changes, you're less likely to have the rug pulled out from under you, because you're listening to yourself and you're taking action. Yeah. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, if things do happen, like when you're not listening, the universe does, like you're saying, pull a rug out from under your feet. It does happen. Yeah, taking the little steps it keeps moving you forwards. And so that if the rug does get pulled out from you on your feet, hopefully it won't be so big. But yeah. I agree. Like, I decided this year I was going to have a bit more fun in my life, and I just signed up to like a aerial hoop class. So it's just once a week. It's an hour of my time, but it fits in with my schedule, and when I go, I feel really good about it and I enjoy it. And it's about those small steps. It's not a dramatic life change and suddenly my whole life's turned upside down. It's taking small steps so that I'm getting closer to the life I want and the life that feels right for me.
Totally. Wow. It's normally the small things. Like, and sometimes it can be big things, but I also think if you do those small things, you get practiced at change.
Yeah.
Because when you're stuck in your comfort zone, like I do know people very close to me who get very in their safety bubble, so much so that any sort of change throws them into disaster and stress and anxiety. And they're kind of ill prepared because they haven't practiced those muscles. Because what we practice with our businesses is leaning into discomfort of doing some of our marketing, where we're allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, leaning into the discomfort of like sales calls. And I mean, I love them now, but it's definitely been a case in the past of like, and allowing yourself to like just lean. So you've got the discomfort, but you just can't see my hands unless you're watching on YouTube. But you just lean into it and lean on it, and it's like, oh, okay, I can do this. I can face it. So yeah, practicing those muscles I think are really important for resilience, because it's not always going to go right.
No, exactly.
And that is okay.
That's life. Things like good things happen, bad things happen, and you can't stop the bad things happening.
Yeah.
But you can be prepared so that you can deal with them in the best way possible. And you know, life changes, like, you know, people change, our bodies change as we age, like everything is always changing, nothing stays the same. I mean, even if you look at like technology in our lifetimes, how much has that changed in the last like 15, 20 years? Like so much.
Oh yeah.
So things are always constantly changing, and I think it's important to be adaptable and be okay to go out your comfort zone and learn something new, or, you know, adapt to a new situation, and or take a new step and a new journey. Like, that's not a bad thing. That's, yeah, that's a really good thing, because change is going to happen whether you want it or not.
What would you suggest to somebody who's in a really challenging place in their life right now, like they're in their life and it's a really dark place? What would you suggest for them?
Oh,
put you on the spot now.
I know. I remember when being in that place, it's really difficult to see your way out.
Yeah.
In my experience, and like from talking to friends who've been in similar experiences, I would say talk to someone or like seek external help. I mean, it could be literally like talking to a friend, or maybe a professional or a mentor or a coach, like, because it's so easy to get like I don't know, bogged down in your shit and your life, and you can't see your way out. You can't see like how anything can change or how you're going to change, whereas someone external can guide you through that. Even like a friend who's not involved can guide you through that, so that you can start seeing things. But also, I think it's really important to be in a place where you are ready for change. Some people like staying in their shit and being all, oh, look at me.
It's a choice. It's a choice to be in that woe is me victim mode. My life is so challenging and I hate my life and everything's done to me and it's awful. Yeah, it's a choice. It's a valid choice to stay the same, because that's safe.
Exactly. And so a person needs to be ready for change and go, okay, I'm ready and I'm determined to do what I need to do to change my life. And if they're at that point, like we said before, I think it all comes down to looking at yourself first. And something as simple as being clear on what you actually want. Like, what is it you want from your life? And what isn't working and what will work, and how do you start changing it? And I do think fundamentally it starts by working on yourself and making that decision and committing to it. Like, whatever it is.
Yeah. I was just thinking back that I was in that dark place when I first created my Design the Life You Love program. And
I'm really sorry, can I've locked my boyfriend out. I need to go get
I'll just keep talking to camera. So Ceza's gone. Actually, I don't know if you can hear, I've got like, I don't know, it sounds like someone's hoovering. So always when you go live that you have like things that people knock at the door, children lose their teeth. That was last time, if you didn't listen to it. Children losing teeth. Now I seem to have a hoover outside. So just saying, when we're live, like, it's always something.
Yeah, he's now in, he's no longer locked outside.
Conversations amongst friends, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So just thinking about when I was in a dark place and I created Design the Life You Love based on coaching principles, and sort of what came out of that for me and what I learned from that. And then my brain's done a complete jump on the side parallel line. When I was in that dark time, I had counselling, had brief counselling, and something that really helped me was to sort of, the counsellor gave me this like list of things to make you feel better when you're feeling depressed, and I kind of liked the fact that I could just pick one thing that was like a little step closer to feeling a bit better. And so I did a lot of walking. That was the thing that really helped me. But even if you don't have tools to feel better and you like don't know what you want and you don't know what to do yet, it's just tuning into, okay, this is how I feel right now. It's this. What thought, what action, no matter how small, will take me one tiny step closer to feeling a bit better. And you know it's that thing because when you think of doing it or when you do it, you get a sense of relief. So it could be going from depression to anger. but it's just taking a step forwards. So change doesn't always have to be ginormous. It can be a small step in your attitude. It can be a small step in the way you treat yourself, or it could just be a case of taking a small action to improve something in your world around you. Because even changing one thing sends a completely different like vibration out into the universe that shows the universe that you're heading in that direction, and so then it can bring you a match for that new state of vibration. So yeah, change can be absolutely really subtle and small, and that's still valid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When I think back to when I was in a dark place, exercise was one thing that always made me feel good, and I didn't realize quite how much until like quite recently. But that's what made me feel good, and I used to do quite a lot of it, or do like at home, or I do at the gym, and it made me feel better, and I enjoyed it, and it did take me out of that dark place for a temporary moment so I could feel better. But like you're saying, each time that is moving you a step forwards until where you need to be, where you want to be.
Yeah, so creating change isn't just about the big stuff. It isn't just about the kind of, I've got a great life, I want to make it better, or I've got a particular goal. It can be about just raising your quality of life, raising your experience of life up so that it feels better. Yeah. It just gives you relief. It opens the door to sort of step by step, opens the door to better things, or better feelings for you.
Yeah, you know how it is when you do something, you feel good, and then you do something else and you feel good again. It's just kind of like more things happen that make you feel good, and you do more things that make you feel good, and it's like a spiral into feeling good more of the time, which is true for the other way around as well, I think.
Oh yeah, spiral down. I think we know that one quite well as well. Yeah, that slippery old slide.
So yeah, I think it's important to do things that make you feel better.
Yeah.
And it can be like 5 minutes. Maybe you listen to your favorite song. It doesn't have to be,
Yeah, which brings a kind of interesting thought to my head about that, because so I have a relationship with sugar and with chocolate that is one that it's like hanging on to a relationship that you know isn't good for you, but you hang on to it because sometimes it makes you feel better. And I've just been thinking that, like, when you're in a sort of a lower vibration, when you're in a tougher place, doing something like the chocolate or something that, or alcohol, whatever it is, sometimes that thing is the thing that will give you that relief in that moment and help you feel better. And so it's sort of working out those things and being okay with that, but recognizing that it's not where you're going to stay. So it's like a tool, but it's not a destination. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because you don't want that thing then to turn into like addiction. And like I've had people who their like addictions almost like other people who make them feel good, and they always need it. But then you become dependent on that thing to make you feel good. So actually, not solving a problem is just kind of, I don't know.
It's like a pattern of complaining.
Yeah.
So you get into a habit with certain friends, and yeah, I know I do this to you, Ceza, sometimes. But you have friends who you just like always unload on, and then it's all about you, and you always unload, and then you feel better, and they're left like feeling shit when you go because you haven't actually had a proper relationship. And you get into that habit of just depositing your shit on someone else. And I think in a good friendship, like, you'll have to and fro, and it's okay to share, but it's when you become kind of addicted to embracing the shit and making that your thing that you connect over, like, not progressive, it becomes restrictive. So I think that's one to watch out for as well, just getting into those habits, because you won't be a very good friend if you are always negative. A good way to kind of lose friends or create codependency with friends, or you end up attracting friends who want to fix you. And then when you get better to a point where you're actually feeling really good and empowered, those friendships no longer stand because you're not fulfilling that role the other person's expecting you to feel. You're not being the victim anymore. That's probably a whole other conversation, but I've definitely had that myself where I've lost friendships because I don't want to get sucked back into that pattern of complaining and being the victim, because I've actually grown from it.
Yeah.
And if that friendship can't evolve, then you lose a valuable friendship.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I think, yeah, you're right. There's a whole nother conversation there as well.
Yeah, I guess it's part of change, is recognizing that as you change, not everybody's going to like the fact that you change. Not everybody's going to be supportive of your change, because they feel safe with you being predictable and how you always are, and it can trigger fear that they'll lose you, but it can also show fear in them because they're losing control. So that's something just to be mindful of, because your journey is your journey. No matter who else is in your life, your journey is your journey to be had, and the right people will support you and cheerlead for you and be happy for you.
Yeah, and even if they don't at the start, they will come round. I've definitely had that experience. So that definitely a good conversation for another time, because that's a big topic.
Is there anything else, Ceza, that you wanted to cover about change?
No, I think not today. I mean, this is such a, there's so many different things that come under this topic. So I'm sure we will talk about it again in the future. But I don't have anything else to say today. Do you?
No, I think I'm done. I think we've covered everything on my notes. The only final thing for me about it was, because I'm following intuition, which if you don't know if listeners don't know what intuition is, it's like the first thought that comes in before all the other fears rush and try and pummel it to the ground. So it's like the football that's kicked in rugby or whatever before everyone runs and leaps on it, and then they leap on it. Anyway, I don't know why I'm making rugby analogies. I'm so not into sport. But it's that first pure thought that there's no emotion attached to it. It's just do this thing, do that thing, do that thing. And then a part of you can run in and suppress it, because your saboteur can be like, no, do that thing, that thing, that thing, that thing. Or your victim can be like, oh, no, can't do that. That's too scary. But that first thing is often the thing that, when you want to create your desires, is the actual next step. It's a part of you or something beyond you, who knows. It's something cosmically that's saying, do that thing. And it might not make sense at all. It might be stop and go and have a coffee when you're in the middle of mowing the lawn, or write this social media post when you're still in the shower, which happens to me a lot, or mid-cooking and you've had to stop mid-cooking to kind of capture it. But listening out for that intuition, because that's the thing that is the magic that takes you there. And none of us know how the magic works really, but it seems to be the thing. So intuition is the other thing that I would add to the mix, as something just to start peeking at and noticing. And if you're ready, start acting on it.
I think that's a good point to put in, because sometimes it's that whole gut instinct. Sometimes you know what you need to do, or you know what is your body or your mind, or however you want to think about it, is telling you to do. And it's about taking action, because it knows. Your intuition knows. Listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other part of intuition, is action.
Yeah.
There's no point having the intuition and not taking action. No change happens without action, unless the universe pulls the rug out from under you. So any change you want to create, action, in guided, aligned, intuitive action. And the whole energetics behind that is definitely another conversation that I'd love to have at a different time. But taking intuitive action that feels good, or not even good, action might feel uncomfortable, but it's the gut what's the word, your gut instinct.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't feel good, that it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Take that action. Yeah. But when it's right. I think with intuition, you just know.
Yeah, sometimes it can be scary, but it's You just know. It has this feeling of, if I do this thing, it's going to open up my world in some way. It might not make a lot of sense, but it just seems to just have that opening up feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've covered quite a lot here, I think. Right. So I hope listeners are still awake. Thank you everybody for listening. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. I think there's a little bell thing to tick, or subscribe on whatever platform you're on to download the podcast. And yeah, it's been fun, Ceza. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been good. Thank you. And thank you to our listeners. And we will be back next week with more interesting chat.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.